All right, yes, it is another beautiful day to talk about the trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. It's time for the Morning Express, or the Morning Express continues, rather, on mainland 98.3 FM. Time check right now is 7:40 a.m. We'll be looking through the major stories trending on the front pages of our dailies. We'll do that till 8:30. We'll take a break by 8:30, and by 8:40 we're back for Milan Focus, where you, our dear listener, you get to be a part of the conversation. You share your thoughts, your views, your contribution as regards the focal points of the day. All right, so let's get to it. My name still remains Omobola Sandra. Of course, I will not be doing this alone. Fuhad Sahid is somewhere out there. We're trying to connect to him, so he joins in and he gives his analysis of the stories or analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. So before anyone, probably someone is curious out there. Yes, the NLC has actually suspended today's protest. So they said yesterday's protest had an overwhelming success, and they've been able to press on their demands, and so this protest for today has been suspended. So let's all go about our various duties. There's no conversation on that particular one anymore. So, but then, what do we have on the front page of our dailies? I can't wait for us to discuss. Apparently, another MPC decision is out. The CBN has increased interest rate to 22%. So, help business owners at this time. Good morning, Fuad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm just, all surviving.
Happy protest-free day.
Happy protest. Look at that. Can you imagine what we're using to create ourselves? What is happy protest free day, Fuad?
Cool protest free day.
Yoruba people have a greeting for everything. Oh my goodness. It's a happy protest free day. Well, I mean, it's a good one though. The traffic yesterday at that Ikeja axis was totally out of this world, and I don't know. There's a lot of things that I want to take away from the protest, but I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the story that's been going around as regards the fact that the police were sharing biscuit and water at the protest ground. I don't know. It was Lagos State though, because it's Lagos State Security Trust Fund. But then they were sharing bottled water and
it's a good one.
It's a good one to them.
Yes, sir.
I have a story here before we move on to what we have trending on the papers forward. 1 pound fufu and 150 naira fufu. I did the same thing.
Yeah. We are talking of two different countries, two different situations, two different realities.
And I don't know why. Well.
Two different currencies, two different earning power and reality. So when I see people make such dumb, when I call it completely dumb comparison, I just shake my head to justify the nonsense we have here. And it's mostly coming from these cool supporters of government. You just throw these things in to begin to make some very, I don't want to use the word stupid argument. I don't know how you suddenly bring how much they are selling fufu in the UK. Begin to compare it to how we sell it here. Is it the same thing? Is it the same reality? The same income level? Those things.
I was a little bit peeved when I saw that someone saying, "Oh, we have it good here. This one now and that." Do you know how much one fufu is £1 and £1 is 2,000 naira, and that it did not occur to you that maybe the problem is with your naira. So we should be buying fufu 2,000 naira. And how is £1 the same thing as 1 naira? I'm trying to rationalize how our people think.
Let's ask ourselves, Sandra. The person that is buying fufu for £1,
yes,
what does he earn compared to the person that is buying at 150 naira here?
Fufu. Fuad. The person that is buying fufu at £1, the minimum wage over there is £10 per hour.
Okay.
All right.
So what's £10 to 30,000 minimum wage?
30,000 minimum wage that we're collecting. Yeah. Thank you.
You see that there's a problem somewhere from all of this.
So that's one argument. I don't know if let's just quell that one and move. Let's see what we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. Presidency alleges political agenda as protests hit state. Of course, that will come out from somewhere along the line. We have writers here. No unanimity in protest. Some people leveraging current situation for political gains, says presidential aide. Police share biscuits and water. Lagos protest. NLC urges Tinubu to end extreme hardship and food crisis. I'm so sorry, but away from the biscuits and water that they're sharing,
that was shared by the police themselves, right?
Yes, by the police themselves, actually.
Yeah, they're also Nigerians too, Sandra. I don't just think they're also Nigerians, and they face the same reality as other Nigerians.
I mean, I don't know why that was supposed to, or why that is such a big deal. Apparently, it is such a big deal for a lot of people, and
that the police can be that evil.
Yes,
to begin to share biscuits and water to protest that.
Bottled water, not pure water.
It's one of the things you see in civilized society. So kudos to our policemen who did their job perfectly yesterday. You gave live reports yourself and Okwemi, and when we also got to part of the Ikeja yesterday, we saw that the police were well behaved. They did their job professionally. Therefore, one or two overzealous policemen.
Of course.
One of them, of course, broke the phone of Okwemi Akinyoja. We're trying to take that off with the police authority. But I think generally they were well behaved. They did what they needed to do.
I absolutely agree. They were actually really well behaved, and the fact that their presence normally, that sort of heavy presence of the police would make some people to be a little bit anxious. But their presence yesterday, it makes a lot of people feel very safe, especially for commuters. You see that there's a crowd somewhere, but you see heavily armed policemen all over the place. It was almost as if they deployed the entire policemen in Lagos State to NLC protest. They were playing.
They were telling me yesterday that all over that we had this number of policemen.
I did not know. The number was incredible. The number of policemen that were that actually were stationed at different choke points of the protest walk and the procession and all. It was out of this world.
I talked about a planned protest. The advantage of a planned protest is that the police authorities can work with the protesters, can plan along with the protesters. Okay, where are you starting from? What's the procession going to be like? Where are you ending the procession and all of that? And then, of course, deploy the adequate number of policemen to ensure that it doesn't degenerate into any form of chaos or crisis. So that's the beauty of democracy too. The fact that people have a right, to complain about government policies in the most civil and peaceful way. And I think that was what we saw yesterday from the labor protest. Whether it achieves the purpose it was supposed to achieve, that's a different conversation. But there was a peaceful protest yesterday by the NLC, and that's the news.
Well, now there was a peaceful protest. It was a very according to NLC, they have claimed it as an overwhelming success. It was very peaceful. There were some detractors there, but of course that was totally overlooked. But then the president now has faulted the nationwide protest. All right, alleging that some people are leveraging the situation in the country for their political agenda. Of what? Do we have to politicize this? Is it not glaring that there are people who are upset? There are people who are speaking out, and NLC coming out to just enunciate, or should I say, amplify the voices of the people in the protest. Should we have to politicize that, or what do you think of the presidency's response to the protest?
See, I don't know whether there's a difference in training for being the spokesperson of the government at all levels. Most especially that one at president. Maybe there's a different kind of training, or it comes with a different orientation. But my own public relations instinct, which I think is an integral part of being a spokesperson for government, is to always work with the truth and be very instead of bringing in more enemies for your principal, you are looking at bringing in more friends. And what do I mean, Sandra? Just imagine yesterday the presidency had said that, look, well, it was nice that the protest had happened. We ensured we deployed policemen to make sure it was not hijacked. We've listened to all the grievances, all you understand from organized labor, and be rest assured that, look, the president is working very hard to address all the needs and concerns of the people, as highlighted yesterday by organized labor. Be rest assured that we are not resting on our oars. We are working very hard to attend to all these requests. We hear your cry very well, and we are doing something serious about it. Very, very soon we begin to see the results of all our efforts. Nigerians would have thought that, well, okay, well, promising to at least the fact that they acknowledge our pain and they have said they are doing something about it. But then to now politicize it and say some people are trying to, who are the people? And what is the politics about what happened yesterday, Sandra? Unless there are things they know we don't know.
Exactly.
Maybe there are things they know that we don't know. But
well,
from what happened
according to our, presidential spokesperson, that's a special advisor rather to the president on media and publicity, JᴏɪＲ Aᴊɪṕᴏ, saying that there was no unanimity behind the NLC's action, citing the withdrawal of TUC and National Association of Nigerian Students from the protest. That's because is there any labor union that is speaking to the concerns of Nigerian families, the pains that are being felt by our people, is absolutely free. It is right, and that the government is doing everything possible to do that. But coming forward to say that Nigerians the unions issuing a protest over the federal government's failure to fulfill their promises to address the crisis and all, but the TUC withdrawing from it, looking at it from that angle and saying, it was not even a unanimous decision, and so
okay. So does that take away from the fact that people are suffering? Does that also take away from the fact that, look, there was an October 2nd, 2023 agreement with organized labor that included NLC and TUC that the government has not been able to fulfill? Does that take away the fact that when this government came into power, because again, when people like Ńģèyí begin to say these things, like I said, some of us just shake our heads and look at them. Does it take away the fact that, look, when this government came into power, the naira to a dollar was just a little over 700. Now it's about 1,500, 1,006. Does what he has said now, that, look, because TUC withdrew from the protest, does it take away the fact that when this government came into power, a bag of rice was around maybe 40,000 naira or 35,000. Now it's selling for over 80,000 naira. Does it take away the fact that, look, more Nigerians are poorer, suffering, desperate, some of them having suicidal thoughts? Does it take away the fact that, look, as it is, the government removed subsidy without any plan, and quietly subsidy has resumed, and Nigerians are feeling the brunt and suffering of that, what I can call a quasi unthoughtful policy? These are the realities that people like Ńģèyí should be speaking to. And then the NSC that pulled out of the protest has said that, look, they still maintain the same demand and the same position as to how the government has failed to yield to the demands and agreements with organized labor. But that when it comes to protest, because they were not discussed with, they will not be part of it. So how is that a point for the government to now lash on and say, it was not a unanimous protest? But what about the failures of government to address the needs and yearnings and sufferings of the people, which Ńģèyí is not even speaking to? As I said, that unless these guys have a different training, and I'll continue to say it, Sandra, the reality is that the fact that you're a good journalist does not mean you're going to be a good postman when it comes to public relations. Image making, creating goodwill for your principal and the other side. A lot of times I've seen spokespersons not being able to do the job well because maybe the fundamentals of public relations does not even get to them. They are not going to be so defensive and then begin to think like a propagandist. It's more about the truth and only the truth. That's classic Sandra.
Well, NLC is still pressing home its demands, referencing the food crisis. The NLC president, of course, has said a bag of rice is over 70,000 naira, whereas minimum wage is 30,000 naira. So how long will Nigerians continue to suffer? We cannot pay school fees with 30,000 naira minimum wage. Let the poor eat. The fact that the currencies of Cameroon, Benin Republic, Niger Republic are higher than Nigeria's naira because of the devaluation and all of that. So, of course, we're trying to, what he says, we're going to present a letter to the National Assembly for onward transmission to the president. We're here a few months back and we presented a letter. Unfortunately, those demands have not been addressed. Is there anything that we can expect as some sort of reward from yesterday's protest? Very quickly, Ford.
You Sandra, when yourself and Opeyemi were giving us like reports from the Lagos protest, I was just going to say, just on the screen, right there in the studio, where we're having mainland focus, that there were protests all over Europe and it was being reported. Farmers protesting, I think somewhere in Spain, some other protests somewhere in the United Kingdom, the same kind of peaceful protest, people going about. And you know what protest does? You know the good thing about a protest? It's about perception management. What you're doing is to tell the government that, look, we are well organized, we are well ready, and the protest will precede what could be a total shutdown or what you can call downing of troops, which is a strike. You understand? So what a protest does is to give that ginger to members of organized labor, and even the public, because when you now, what you now say, you can see that apart from members of organized labor, other Nigerians also join the protest.
Oh yes, yes.
So it's a statement making, what's it called, process in itself, where you are able to make statements to people in government that, look, we are ready, we understand these things, this is how we feel. So a protest is about sticking true to power in itself. The only thing is that we always encourage that it must be done in a peaceful manner. That was what happened yesterday. So I think all in all, Labour has been able to make its own statement in their own wisdom. They decided that the second day would not be necessary because they've done what they needed to do just in one day. But I'm saying that, look, whether TUC was part of it or not, whether it was supposed to be 2 days and it's now 1 day, it still doesn't take away the fact that the government has failed to honor a lot of its agreements with organized labor. It still doesn't take away the fact that, look, Nigerians are suffering seriously at this time, and it's important that government has to do something more sustainable and realistic to tackling the suffering in the land at this time.
Thank you very much, Said. For more details on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, that's as regards the reports from yesterday's protests all over the country, different parts of the country, I must say, not just Lagos. There were protests held in Ogun State, Plateau, Delta, Benin, Katsina, Oyo, Gombe. Look at that. That's a state governor.
Why did they allow it?
Isn't it a civil servant?
Say what? Which civil servant? Does he collect minimum wage?
Isn't it a public? Isn't it a public service?
How would they? I was shocked. I said, why would the Labour? They would have told Mr. Governor, no. You are part of the problem. You can't
go and sit down.
You can't join us. Is the governor collecting minimum wage? That was just, you know when people that are part of the project try to pretend to be part of solution, I was surprised that they allowed the governor. They would have said, go on, stay on the other side. You are the one we are talking to. We are the people that have caused all this pain. You understand? But again, all in all,
get your point.
You get what I'm saying now? You can't be the problem and then be part of the solution, No. It's not allowed in my own opinion.
It's okay.
Mr. Governor, don't worry, stay in your office. We are coming to this.
I guess the people of NLC or your state are good people, just out of respect. Okay, it's the governor, let's just see what happens.
Or maybe they are in solidarity with the governor. Maybe they like him.
Fuad, it's okay. Thank you.
Did the governor of Lagos State show up yesterday? You were estimating.
Fuad, let's not even go there because I may just, you may just kick me out of the studio very soon. But yesterday, Femi Falana, SAN, was also a part of the protest. He joined the protest when we had gotten to the State House of Assembly, and to address the NLC and receive the letter from NLC, we had about 12 or 15 members of the House of Assembly.
Assembly, yeah.
Yes, they just. It's okay. Well, the story is on page 2. In Kano State, for example, the head of service was the one who came out to, speak to the workers. And I remember very clearly, one of the things Femi Falana said yesterday was, hopefully today, the governor won't be sending anyone, but will come out to address Lagos State workers.
Wait. And why are you running away from people that?
Maybe the media chat that was held last week would suffice, for Lagosians. So we can move.
Now,
okay.
Why are you running away from the kind of people that addressed yesterday, the honorable? What's the problem?
Because I'm not happy.
Yeah, you say what you saw now. What did you see there?
Okay. The fact because it was their entrance. Everything was going really well until our politicians came.
The
honorables. Until they came, and came, and the press had their stands where we stood to be able to get our reports and pictures and videos and voice notes and all of that. And these our wonderful honorables just came in and just stood between the press people and the NLC, and then backed the press.
Okay.
And it was just like, they were pushing their way through. Mr. Honorable Sir, can you please move a bit so we can get our coverage and all of that? And the press was shouting, and it was just total ignorance. It was just like
they just ignored you.
Total ignorance. It was like we're not there. It was just like we're not there. And the press guys just start packing their things. That what is going on? How exactly do you want the people to see what you are doing or what you plan to do? Because you are there to address the workers. You are there to address the people. So if you're there to address the people, and there are people who are in their houses or at their places of work who are not able to be there, but they're also interested in whatever it is that you have to say. So you coming in just back to people was just like total disregard for the pressmen, and it was just really, it was one of the things that led to the destruction of Okwemi's screen, his phone screen, because the policemen that came with them were also trying to make way for them. I don't know why they had to be that number of people. I don't know why we had to have almost 12 state lawmakers coming in to receive a letter on behalf to pass it on to the governor. And I think one of the people who came out was the deputy majority leader of the state. That's one of the people who came up, but I still don't see any reason why they had to be that much and why they had to have that total disrespect and total disregard to the press people. I was there and I saw it happen, so it's not like money was up kind of situation, and it was just really unfortunate, and it was really was one of the things that just aggravated the anger in a lot of pressmen when they discovered that Okwe's phone was destroyed by the policemen. Yes, all the pressmen just can see what we are talking about. We are trying to get coverage, and you are pushing us, and then here we are now. What led to this now? But we're so helpless.
I wanted you to just give the report. That's all. It's fine. It's just for people to understand some of these things.
Thank you very much, Fuad. But they are listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. We just finished talking about the protest that was held yesterday, the response or reaction of the presidency to the protest, saying or alleging that some people are taking advantage or leveraging on the situation in the country for their own political agenda, and that the protest was one of the things that, or one of the uses or ways and means that using to push that out. I don't know why, but that's what we have here. All right, still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, federal government completes $700 million gas pipeline in March after 8 years. All right, and that is on page 23 of the Punch newspaper. Yes. So what we have is that the federal government announced that the $700 million Obiafo Brekom Obeng gas pipeline, popularly called OB3, will be completed in March 2024. And this was a project that had started that was started in 2016. Yes, 2016. So they announced this at the 7th. There's an ongoing Nigeria International Energy Summit in Abuja, where the president also provided some explanations on why his government had to remove petrol subsidy despite how difficult it was, and also providing a couple of status reports on Nigeria's gas sector. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Ekpo, described the OB3 gas pipeline as one of the biggest gas transmission system in both Nigeria and Africa. So, Fuad, another milestone. What do you think?
A good one, but to be completed March 24. We are still in February. I don't know why the report that it has completed. You understand? They're complete.
In March.
So, in March, yeah. If you look at the airline, you assume that it's completed already.
Oh, yes.
That's what I'm saying. But a good one again is, for the use of gas and all of that in the country. So I just take it as one of the positives you can take away from government,
All right.
It's been long time, 8 years of trying to complete that particular project. So if it's completed eventually in March, it's kudos to the government for completing that one.
Okay. And also looking at the president trying to the president trying to make good the removal of the first subsidy. He was represented, by the way, by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who stated that the petroleum subsidy had over the years strained Nigeria's economic resources, and that this has led to a lot of inefficiencies, most importantly It has hindered Nigeria's ability to invest in critical areas of energy security. So the president, whose speech was read by the minister, said, "By removing the subsidy, we are creating a more transparent and accountability energy sector. The funds that were previously allocated to subsidizing petroleum products are now redirected towards developing and upgrading our energy and other social infrastructure."
And I will not want to waste too much time on that statement. The reality is that subsidy is back. Government has started to pay subsidy again using different means. So I don't know where the minister is coming from. One of the things we keep talking about openness, transparency, and accountability when it comes to the management of the people's resources and governance in itself. So if the minister is insisting that subsidy is gone, even though every other indication from people that should know have consistently shown that subsidy is back, then I just think it's not worth wasting time on such a statement. So we just move.
All right. Well, to finalize things, they said, furthermore, the removal of subsidy has encouraged further private sector participation in the energy industry, with potential of attracting more local.
You are still on this subsidy.
And international. I mean, they said a whole lot as regards, the reforms that we have got. Yes. I mean, the results that we have gotten from the removal of the fuel subsidy, trying to justify it. Yes. Well, the story is on page 23 of the Punch newspaper, so we can get all of that from there. Finally, from the Punch newspaper, interest rate hike. What? Private sector economists foresee fresh job losses and recession. CBN clears $400 million debt, plans tough sanctions for banks to tackle excess money supply. But of course, our focus from this report would be the fact that our wonderful, very wonderful Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN has voted to increase the benchmark interest rate. Yes. To a record high of 22.75%.
From 18, I think from 18 point something.
From 18.75, yes, correct.
The last NPC meeting was in July last year. So the first one.
This is the first one under Yᴏɪᴜ Cardoso, yes.
And now, it has been moved. Again, the thinking is the same thing, Sandra. The thinking that, look, by raising interest rates, you reduce the amount of money in circulation, and then automatically you drive down inflation. Consistently, economists have said that it does not work. It will not work today, tomorrow, and in the future. That kind of thinking will not work. But every time we have this MPC meeting, it's still the same thing. The interest rate is increased. That was what happened in the last administration. So consistently, every MPC meeting, they raise the interest rate. This has happened again. And look at what business experts are saying. That look, job losses. Because again, what it now means is that look, to drive your business, you go into, because if this is the CBN rate, you can imagine what the commercial bank rate will be now. They have to also drive their own up. You understand what I'm saying, Sandra? So we're going to be looking at maybe at over 30% interest rate or 35. So how do you run a business like that? And people have said that look, we shouldn't be deceiving ourselves that where is even the money in circulation now? Because again, simple economics is that when there are too much money chasing fewer goods, you have inflation. What we have, Sandra, is not too much money in circulation. It is what economists call cost-push inflation. Things are too expensive for people to be able to afford. As a result of rising prices of food, which are direct consequences of the policies of government on subsidy removal and the floating of the naira and the dollar. Things are just too expensive for people to bear.
It's just unfortunate that the saying that goes that there's a saying you said on Monday that is clear that history has shown us that people do not learn from history, because there's an argument that history has shown that increasing interest rate has not reduced inflation for us in this country.
So why do we keep doing?
So why do we keep going that route? And there's a lot of reactions here now as regards of course private sector and economics have faulted decisions saying people will lose their jobs, Fuad, and there's a possibility of a recession coming in. And Cardoso said that they're trying to tame the rising inflation. And I'm looking at it from this angle, Fuad. Currently, inflation is about 29%. And it is. There have even been projections that it could worsen, in the days to come. All right. And so if, the best possible solution that these are supposed to be the experts, these are supposed to be the people who know it all, and this is what they could come up with. What exactly does this say about the current governance of CBN?
Well, you see, Sandra, we have too many things all modeled up together. And like you rightly pointed out, even from some of our experts, I was listening to Mr. Bismarck Rewani yesterday on TV, also highlighting some of these facts. There was a lot of graphical representation of our current situation. And a part of his presentation that caught me yesterday, that got me thinking, he said that there are so many things missing at this time when it comes to the economy and the situation we have found ourselves. And he said that one of the most important things that is also missing at this time is truth. We are not saying the truth. Everybody is just living in denial. We are not saying the truth. We are not addressing the real problem. We are just hiding. We are just being delusional about the reality of Nigeria at this time. Mr. Emeka also said a whole lot yesterday when he was the first NPC meeting, so it was an opportunity for him to address Nigerians and of course talk about what the CBN is doing under his leadership. Of course, he started by saying, what the situation we find ourselves now, they should not be blamed. They inherited a very bad situation. The same consistent rhetoric we've been getting from government in recent times. And then he started by also saying that, look, the forest crisis is as a result of, sharp practices of the past, speculation, and all of that. In fact, he said something that also it's important that we pay attention to about Binance, that cryptocurrency platform.
Oh, yes.
That in 1 year, about $27 billion have been traded on that platform. And people trading on that platform have no identity. Even though people who trade on the platform have been coming out to say that, no, that's not the truth. And as you know, platforms like Binance and the rest operate in over 100 countries of the world. And that cannot be the real problem of our forest crisis, the reason for our forest crisis. So he said a whole lot of things yesterday. He said that this is period to really regulate the bank, new rules for BDC operators, and all of those. Fantastic standards.
They want to share $20,000 to BDC operators. That's another report. I don't see it here, but it's also part of what he said yesterday. The fact that they're going to share $20,000 among BDC operators, and hopefully that would, in one way or the other, stem the issue of scarcity of
whatever we need to do to ensure some form of liquidity, ensure proper regulation. I also think that it's important that we also ensure our banks are well behaved when it comes to forex management, foreign exchange management. Like I said yesterday, Sandra, you can't have the official market funding the black market. So we need to look into that. So I just think that, look, for Mr. Yemi Cardoso, every time I always want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I even want to give him some time. But I think that, look, going forward, if he now has the opportunity to address Nigeria, he should not be telling us the problem. We already know the problem. The person that caused the problem, or under this government, this was the thing. All of those things we already know. And when they were coming into power, when the president was coming into power, Nigerians were expecting him to come and solve the problem. Not to come and be telling us what the problem is, or the person that caused the problem, or the reason why we're in this problem. What we want to be hearing is that, look, this is the situation of the country, this is what we are doing to it, these are the timelines for, the results we are expecting, or what we are expecting. That should be the conversation, not to begin to deflect on the real issue. And then on the issue of interest rates, I don't know why that is a consistent pattern anytime we have the MPC meeting. But it is what it is. We just hope that, look, the current CBN governor and his team will be able to get Nigeria back when it comes to our policies from our thought out.
Well, to finalize things on this report, the central bank, we assumed responsibility in a time of crisis of confidence. There was a crisis of confidence, and you may all want to go to bed and wish that crisis of confidence was not there, but it was, and we can't turn back the clock. All we can do is do the difficult things to make a bad situation better. And I do believe that the efforts that we are making are beginning to bring back confidence. I don't know about that, but I mean, Fuad, that's a wrap for
all those 20, all those grammar now. The confidence in itself when it comes to CBN operations would be when Nigerians begin to see that the naira gets firmed up against other currencies, especially the dollar. So when those results continue, when the results are there, people, Nigerians will see and acknowledge it. You understand what? So this confidence that the CBN is getting back now from where? From investors or from Nigerians or from where which confidence are they gaining back now?
Yeah. You need to think big of yourself. It's very important. 15 minutes gone past 8, and you're still listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We're looking through major trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. And of course, still on that particular report, the major headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning: MPC decision concerns for OPS, that is organized private sector, as CBN moves against inflation and naira speculators. That is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Yes, some people may argue that, of course, to curb inflation, the best way to do that is to increase interest rate. But the peculiarity of Nigeria has taught us that that is not our own best way. Let's just put it that way. that is not our own best way. There are different realities, different countries. If a country was able to do it and it went well for them, but then
Sandra, in the past, there was an analysis of the fact that the reason for our own inflation is different from the inflation of other countries.
Yes,
there are local peculiarities to inflation of different countries, and the prescription for solution cannot be the same. You understand what I'm saying? Because what has caused inflation in Nigeria cannot be the same if you are looking at a country like Turkey or a country like Spain, for example. It could be different realities. And then it will now be wrong for you to take the prescription of what is being done to tackle inflation in Spain and then just apply to the situation of Nigeria. Whereas our own is completely different. We are still talking about cost push inflation, Sandra. How did we get to the point where there is like astronomical rise in food prices all through? Everything has tripled. Sandra, bread from I think 600 or 700 naira. A loaf of bread now is 1,005.
Yes.
Okay, how would raising interest rates tackle that one? A bag of rice moved from around 40,000 just a few months ago to now over 80,000 naira. How does raising interest? What it will do is to stifle businesses out of operation. Because what it now means is that, look, for you to get loans, and like I said, the commercial banks are not going to work with this rate. They'll probably be working with something like 35% interest rate.
All right.
And then where does that leave the organized private sector? Where does that leave private businesses? So we need to look more at the cost push inflation that is driving things up in the country. That again, all of these things are going to continue to come. Experts are going to be disagreeing on what should be or what should not be. But the reality is that, look, I don't think we are being truthful with ourselves really on tackling this particular problem.
Well, it's going to be a long one. I am a 괏 It's going to be a very long one.
You're not paying now. You have a lot of bad debts.
There's a lot of bad debts. You just be writing debts. But then experts have warned that an extremely high interest rate will cripple the real sector and increase credit risk. The anchor interest could feed into the commercial lending rates and dampen borrowing, a problem that could reduce aggregate demand and then rub off on the performance of the economy. So this high interest rate would also be complicated by the extremely high CRR, a prudent as cash reserve ratio, all right, a prudential monetary tightening tool that will now restrict the fund available for lending drastically. That's basically what we're getting from then. But then Cardoso has warned that the good old days might not return as fast as we expect. I don't know how soon we should expect it, but
the good old days, so they should give a timeline. Oh, we are working within 12 months to 24 months. They are not giving timelines. They are just putting people on what I can call vague hope. We are just working. We want to know what you're doing and what are the clear timelines to work with.
All right. More details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper for that one. We also have here NLC suspends protest, give federal government 2-week ultimatum to address hardship and others. And that's on page 6 as well of the Guardian newspaper. Still on that one, hardship, Makinde joins as workers protest in Oyo, Osun, Ondo, and Ekiti. And that is on page 7. Is here wearing his white shirt with his Labour cap. That's an interesting
Labour cap.
It's not a Labour cap.
It's just cruise. The man is just catching cruise. But Labour should not have allowed him there.
But you can't know his intentions for it.
What's the intention? I say it's cruise. You want to match? You want to match? I'll match with you.
Maybe it's
his own wait now. Is his own reality the same reality of labor people match? Are they collecting the same minimum wage? Is he feeling any suffering that those ones are feeling? You don't understand what I'm saying.
No, but don't you think that the fact that the state governor is with them could give some sort of morale boost, to some of the workers? Yes. Look at the government is even trekking with us. So.
Okay, so how does that solve the problem, or then bring to demand of the labor to a resolution? There's a 17-point demand by labor. I think Vanguard newspaper has it 12 details. Their new demand for suspending this protest. They have 17 demands. But I think the Vanguard has been able to highlight it properly, as given by jail. But what I'm just saying is that what Shemakide did yesterday was just like, if you want to march, I'll join you. Let's march together. Is the governor feeling any place anywhere?
We don't know for because
those honorables that spoke to you yesterday, the way you saw them, is their reality the same reality as other in Nigeria?
No,
the way you saw them.
No, absolutely not. That one. I'm upset. Please, let's not bring back that honorable conversation.
This is the way they appeared. Looking very fresh and fresh.
They were very, very one. Those people, they do not understand bag of rice conversation. They do not.
From what you see of them, you know that the bag of rice conversation, they are far from me. That's what we are saying.
No.
I am sure that if you ask Mr. Shemakide yesterday in that process, how much are they selling a loaf of bread? You may not know.
All right, very quickly from that report, is on page 7, by the way, if you'd like to get more details on that. Still on the front page of The Guardian, mixed reactions trail Tinubu's implementation of Oronsai's report. And that's on page 7. I think we started this conversation yesterday on Mainland Focus. And now we have the fact that the president's decision to trim down the number of federal government-funded agencies in line with the Stephen Oronsai's report has received mixed reactions. Applauding the move, Huriwa, that's Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, said Tinubu's decision to implement the report by merging some agencies would not make any sense if the bloated executive cabinet of the Federation, constituted with about 48 ministers, was not reduced to 36. I don't know why we have 48 ministers.
Sandra, I said it yesterday to say it. This adoption of the Oronsai report shows the inconsistencies in this government again. You started out by an overbloated executive cabinet member, and now you are trying to reduce the size of government again, trying to adopt the Oronsai report. You've created more ministries. Now, how do you reduce the number of parastatals and agencies? Because some of these ministries too shows that, look, you've now increased the size of government in their policies and the way they spread out the ministers and the number of ministers. And that's inconsistency again, and afterthought. Okay, we did overbloated ministry. I was telling you yesterday, there are some ministries that have been created under this administration. They've not done anything practically.
I've never heard anything from them.
The Blue Ocean Economy, Blue Ocean, by the former governor of Osun State, what have they been able to do?
Where is Mr. 𝐴ᴏᴜ?
Those are the kind of ministries I'm talking about. And then Minister of Youth and Sport, youth separate, sports separate. And then I don't know what the youth minister have been doing. I don't know what the sport minister have been
doing. Carefully highlighted the fact that Mr. President Tinubu's cabinet is the biggest out of all the Fourth Republic presidents that we have
from
had
1999
from 1999 to date, and this has shown that his decision to now trim down number of agencies will not really achieve much unless he achieves the size or reduce the size of his ministers to at least 36, which is the plan or the initial plan normally from the get-go. So while we have a 48 member cabinet, we have plenty special advisors, we have plenty
special advisors, special assistants, PAs. You see the problem?
Yes, very expensive presidency that we have.
And then we're now talking about the Oronsai report that recommended against that kind of decision in the first place. You can see that it's a bit inconsistent. You do something with the right hand and then you are trying to correct it with the left hand, and then the two is not even matching up.
How is that achievable if that is story is on page 5.
There's a committee working on it, so we'll wait. I think they have 12 weeks to implement.
I don't know, Fad. I've lost track of the committees that have been set up in the past 3 weeks.
So this one will not lose track of this one. No.
Okay.
You know, like I was telling Ben yesterday, he made a call yesterday. I was arguing that Buhari never made an attempt to implement the 괘ᴜ report. And I said, no, in 2020, he set up a committee to implement the report. And in 2022, Sandra, there was a white paper by the Buhari administration to implement the report, and it was never implemented.
All right, then.
So this is not the first time an attempt has been made to implement it. We are just hoping that this time it will be implemented, even though there are inconsistencies on the government as to the size of government.
Thank you very much, Fuad. We don't have so much time, so let me just quickly run through Vanguard newspaper because there's quite a lot of stories here. As you rightly mentioned, the major headline on the front page of Vanguard is NLC gives 17-point demand to Tinubu, suspends protest. Makinde joins protest in Oyo, says there's hunger and anger in the land. Protest needless, says presidency. Says legitimate concerns are being addressed. So here we go. A reopening of the land borders to their farms, that's security. Immediate removal of collection of levies, fees, dues, tolls from petty traders by local and state governments. I think we always had that conversation. Yes.
At least free businesses a bit, small businesses, free them up a bit.
Exactly. You know? Immediate implementation of the October 2nd agreement, which was reached with the government.
That one now allow.
Immediate purchase and deployment of CNG buses across all states of the Federation. Compressed natural gas buses. That promise.
Where are the CNG buses?
The promise has been made since. When was that speech? I don't know which speech it was, Fuad.
Well,
which
it was
the
in
presidential
August.
Speech?
It was in August.
It's okay.
August,
and we were promised that CNG. We've not heard anything. I mean, student law was promised.
So we saw some CNG buses in Ogun State now.
What?
We saw videos of CNG buses by the State.
An immediate deployment of large number of CNG conversion kits to all states.
They promised that too, remember?
Yes, to grant CNG. Easier access to conversion of your vehicles from PMS to CNG. So that's another one. Compose a team of relevant stakeholders to monitor and supervise all federal government intervention funds in the interest of Nigerian people. I think that's another one to look at. You just have so many interventions and we don't really know if this is
the 2 billion to the governors. Well, what did we do with?
Reverse and suspend any further increase of school fees. I'm a senior advocate of this one.
People are already paying, People are already paying.
A drastic reduction and removal of import duties paid on essential drugs and medical consumables to relieve current hardship that's been witnessed by the sick people. This is a serious conversation that we need to have, especially in a country where insurance is not really being used, where people pay over the counter for their drugs. All right, so
that's again with the government that is on an aggressive revenue drive. How would that work?
Well, direct all state governments to immediately pay all owed wages, wage awards, allowances, gratuities. I don't think it's only state government. Federal government is owing 35,000 wage awards, so it should start from them before we get to the state governors.
But why is any governor owing anything at this time with the triple allocation they are now getting? It's just shocking that our governors.
Transfer to the vulnerable with verifiable and inclusive social register, which is to begin immediately. An immediate tax holiday to all workers that are earning from 100,000 naira per month and below, including a reduction in pay for all workers earning below 500,000 naira.
The government is looking for money.
Well, removal of VAT on basic consumer items. Direct the purchase and use of made in Nigeria goods and services. Again, I would say start from the federal government, because our National Assembly bought Lexus when we have Innocent and Nord in the country. I don't know. So it should start from them.
We know. We don't know what. We know. They should buy Innocent.
Immediate reduction in the cost of governance in Nigeria at all levels to reflect Nigeria's tight fiscal position. Halt immediately implementation of all IMF and World Bank policies in Nigeria. The neo-colonialism should stop. Speedy conclusion of national minimum wage negotiation, ensuring that it approximates a living wage. Unfortunately, we can't take it all. It's a very long read. You can get all the details on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. carefully highlights all of the demands.
17 points.
Yes, I can't take any other story. Unfortunately, we have gone past our time limit here, but those are the 17 points. Let's take a break. We'll be back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus, so you can share your thoughts and your contribution as regards our focal points for the day. But thank you very much for those who joined us on Facebook. I see some messages on Facebook. When we come back, we'll take these messages on Mainland Focus. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos, where the conversation never stops.